with Ryan Ries. This is Live with Ryan Ries. Call now, 1-888-564-6173. Or post your questions using the hashtag #LiveRyanRies on his Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.
I don't know if you guys are ready for this story tonight. I have one of my very good, actually two of my very good friends in the studio. You guys know her from, she was the lead singer of Flyleaf, and she's in studio with her husband, Josh. So I have Lacy and Josh. How you guys doing?
Yeah, we're awesome. We get to be here with you and your beautiful wife, Crystal.
Yes.
So happy to be here.
She is looking good tonight, too.
She looks gorgeous tonight.
How you doing, Josh?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having us.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm stoked to have you guys here. Tonight we're going to talk about your story, Lacy, and you have a gnarly story. So if you guys are driving and you guys just tuned in, this is Live with Ryan Ries. I'm in studio with Lacy and Josh, and we're going to go through the beginning of where she started out her career to where she's at now. But I'm telling you right now, I've heard the story many times, and it never gets old, and it's super relatable to a lot of different people. So if you're listening, stay tuned. Before we get going, I'm going to have Scott go ahead and run through some announcements before we get going.
Cool. How you guys doing, family? Hey, listen, if any of you guys want to watch Ryan's show anywhere in the world, you guys live, you could pick that up at ryan-reese.com. You guys, we are on 25 radio stations from Hawaii to Florida, you guys, and we're looking forward to adding more. So if you are interested in that, contact us. We'd love to join your station. Also, if you guys have never been to Israel before, man, it is something that will definitely change your life. Pastor Raul tells me that 1 year in Israel is equal to, like a couple years in seminary or something like that. And he took me once, and it blew my mind. Well, he's taking another group this year, and luckily we've got the Whosoever's is taking their own special bus. So you're going to have the Pastor Raul in the church, and then you're going to have the freaky bus. It's going to be cool. Yeah,
last time, Lacy, you and Josh, you guys were both on the trip last time, and
yeah.
I remember towards the end of the trip, the tour guide goes, "What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with them?" Like he was like freaking out. I'm like, dude, you're just figuring out that we're all crazy now. Like the last day before the tour ends, he was like, "This has been my best." He's like, "This has been my favorite group."
Yeah,
because we kept him on his toes.
That's awesome. Well, again, it's going to be April 5th through 17th, right? And any of you guys that want to sign up, you guys, definitely, again, a life-changing experience. April 5th through the 17th, you guys can check out all that information at the info@thewhosoevers.com. Also, another one, super excited about this. Ryan, you know my heart's for the youth and for high schools. And they're doing something, you guys, that has not been done before. You guys, it's called the High School Tour, literally Kill the Noise. I love it. And they're booking for 2015. They've got something like 15 to 20 schools just all interested in it. And we want to get as many as we can. So if you guys are a teacher, a student, if you are a parent or an administrator on one of the school campuses and you see kind of the course things are going, contact us. We'd love to come on your campus and do a sick outreach. So hit us up.
Yeah, it's been going off, man. We've been hitting high schools and just meeting with the kids and hanging out with them after and talking to them, and just, a couple of girls were suicidal that we met with, and they left a message, "Hey, you know what? I'm not suicidal anymore," after you guys came and shared with us. So it's really cool one-on-one.
Yeah. So going out to the schools versus having the kids come into the church, it's a whole new dynamic. So
cool. Dude, if you think about it, when you're going to high school, it's like the ratio is like 98, 97% non-Christian.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, so it's
For
perfect.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And if you guys are listening tonight and you would like to be kind of a supporter of this show and what we're all about, you guys, and if you listen, you love our program, you guys can make any kind of donation you want to. This is not a begging thing, but we believe as a ministry, we're God guides, God provides. So if you guys want to be a part of that, you can go online and check us out at thewhosoevers.com/donate and check that out too.
Cool, right on, Scott. So check this out, Lacy. Let's get into this. So you are an author now. You have a book.
I did write a book, yeah.
You were the lead.
You
were the lead singer. You were the lead singer for Flyleaf,
yeah.
And now currently, we can't talk about too much information right now, but currently you guys are together working on new music.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take these guys on a journey. Everyone that's listening right now.
Okay.
How you got to where you're at now.
Okay.
Let's start with where in the heck did you grow up?
Yes, I grew up, we moved around a lot. I would call us like gypsies in a sense. I think we're related to the gypsies. Is that a culture? Is it a...
It is. That is kind of like a little subculture. Yeah,
we kind of have
absolutely.
that. We kind of have that in our background somewhere. But we started out in Florida, and then we went to Mississippi, and then we ended up in Texas. And I was growing up with my mom in Texas. My mom.
So you were single, or single? Your mom was a single parent.
Yeah, my mom was a single parent. Yeah. She had some hardships in her relationships, and there ended up 6 of us. with my mom being a single parent, and financially it was really difficult, and emotionally, there was all kind of things that were hard, and it was neat because my mom, she always had a faith in God, and the good thing about it is it taught us to watch her be able to take on anything. She's such a strong woman. You hardly hear her kind of complain about her circumstances. She's just like, well, this is what's happening. This is what we're gonna do.
That's pretty crazy with 6 kids. What is it like? How many brothers and sisters do you have?
There's 3 boys, 3 girls. So I'm the second oldest. My older brother was 10 months older than me, so we're same age for 2 months out of the year.
Got it.
Feel the pain.
So we were fought a lot when we were younger. Then we were best friends when we got older. And then when I became a Christian, we kind of drifted apart a little bit. I don't think he understood everything I was going through, and giving my life to God. And so coming up in that environment, like I said, my mom taught us about God, but it was still really difficult. I mean, my mom was, I think about this sometimes when my kid's like acting crazy and I got a baby in my hands and I got groceries in my hand and I'm trying to get him to stay by me, and it's a parking lot and it's dangerous, and I'm like, stay with me, and he doesn't listen, and I'm thinking, and I just scream, get over here right now. You know what I mean? And I think to myself, no wonder my mom was so violent and so angry, because she had to do what she had to do to keep us safe. She's just one person, And if we didn't listen, we wouldn't have survived.
You can't. You can't play games when you have that many kids and you're the only single parent. But I got a question. Did she? Because I never knew that she had faith in God. But did you guys go to church, or was there like a relationship there? How was that?
Well, whenever we could go to church, she would always want to go to church. Yeah. But our life was just dramatic. Like I said, we were really poor. We would get evicted out of the place we were staying at. You never knew when that was going to happen. There would be all kind of drama just all over the place, it's a lot of violence with some of the relationships my mom was in, and just trying to stay safe and take help from the people who would reach out to us whenever they would, and you never knew where that was going to lead us, so
Absolutely.
So church was hard, and my mom had to work as much as she could too. We had food stamps, and then my mom would use the food stamps to pay the babysitter, and so we wouldn't have food stamps except for a little bit, and then she would try to work to pay the rent with cash, but then that was gone, and so it's just kind of a cycle that you can't get out of.
Gnarly.
Yeah. So sometimes we go to church. They give us some bread for the week, and give us some food here and there, but it was just rough, and we would have free lunch at school, so we would have that, so that was good. But in the end, my mom's faith was still like not enough for. By the time I was 10 years old, I remember my cousin was beaten to death by a stepfather. He was only 3 years old at the time. Dang. And I remember thinking, how could God be loving and let that happen? I thought he was supposed to be protecting us and loving us, and here my little cousin, his mom stayed with us when she was pregnant with him. She had him and was living at our house, and he was like my little brother, So when that happened, I lost my belief in God. I didn't believe in that anymore.
So that's safe to say that you pretty much went into like a anti-God, anti-Christian.
Well, the reason why I had anger towards the idea of God was because I felt like it made people feel safe who knows when the rug was going to be pulled out from under you. Right. So it felt smarter and kinder to tell people, no, there's no God. You never know what's going to happen. It's just you. Take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. And not just that, I would be angry because they just seemed so naive and happy, and I just hated happy people in general, because I would be like, I committed in my heart as a child. I realize this now. I probably wouldn't have acknowledged it then, but to being sad for my cousin. Like, why are you dead and I'm alive? Why did this happen to you? And so in order to honor his death, I was going to stay sad for him. How can you be happy in a world, I thought, where children get beaten to death? That's messed up.
Well, I mean,
I don't trust you.
You've seen, but seriously, like, you've seen some crazy stuff. Like most people don't see that stuff. So for you to carry that anger and that rage and all that stuff inside you is totally, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's funny too, because now when I look back, I see that as a turning point for me, to beginning to look at all of those things that proved me right. It proved my point. There's no God, and you never know when somebody's going to betray you, and you have to look out for yourself. And it became what I was looking out for. I was looking for somebody to hurt us. I was looking for somebody to betray us. But at the same time, I was seeing those things and finding those things. There was all kind of goodness happening that I didn't see. There was all kind of people that God provided in my life to be a voice of comfort and stability, and to be surrogate moms and surrogate dads and brothers and sisters, and just influences that were loving, that taught me the right way. But I didn't see that as a gift from God. I only saw the other things.
The negative stuff.
Yeah.
And Satan likes to do that, for sure.
Yeah.
So from there, you like, tell us a little bit about when you were in high school and what led up to the point where you had this encounter.
Yeah. So like I said, I committed to being sad, and anytime I would be feel like it was okay to be happy was when it was a shallow happiness with like drugs or something that something like that. And of course your lows are so much lower when you're doing drugs. They make the depression worse. And also, if I fell into a relationship with someone, there was no God in my mind. So the closest thing you can get to God when you don't believe in God is people, because we're made in God's image. So I would cling on to those relationships, whether it was my friends or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever. I would cling on to it like they were God, like they were going to be the thing that made me whole.
Yeah. And keep expanding on this a little bit, because that is what so many girls and guys do. They get God out of the picture. Even if they're walking with God, they kind of remove God from the picture, and they go, if I just had this girl, I'm going to be fine, everything's going to be good. And they put their trust and hope in these people, which always let them down. But talk a little bit more about that, because people listening, they definitely have these.
Well, actually, I wrote the first book I wrote called The Reason. It's about this journey that I'm talking about how I went from atheism to and my journey coming up with my mom and all the stuff we went through, and then meeting God and my whole perspective changing, and then how that changed my life. And I'd say a little bit about meeting Josh, or I really don't talk about meeting Josh. I just talk about having my son. But this book I'm writing right now is really about romance and relationships and emotional health, and how we make what I'm talking about, what you're asking me to expand on. I'm writing a book about that, about how we make people into gods, because that's just how we're wired. We see people and then they have this light in them, and we want to be close to it, because we all reflect some part of God. We all reflect some part of who He is. And that's beautiful. And when we see that beauty in someone, we fall in love with it. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're supposed to be romantic with this person, but we can love that so intensely that we don't know what else to do. But all of culture teaches us that, we're supposed to be in romance with them. So I would see people, and this is my gift, which I didn't realize I was using the wrong way, is that I would see people who didn't believe in themselves. And I would see the light in them, that I would see that they were, but more than they knew. And I would go and try to encourage them to be who they were. Even before I was a Christian, I would say, F all them, don't care about what they say. You're awesome because of this, and don't care. And then I would, and it would be so like such a kind of a high of like, oh, now they're kind of clinging to me, and it's being needed and being that person. I would just go and kiss a guy just because I felt like he didn't know he was good enough, and it felt like, and I feel like crying talking about it, because it's just such a deception, because it debases men to thinking, I thought all men wanted was sexual things, and so to go up and to a guy who looks down and say, I'm just going to kiss him. Like, it debases him to say all he wants is a sexual advance. If it was happened on the other way around, it would be like, Who do you think you are? Just come up and act like you own me.
Yeah.
But
It's true.
but in our society, we act like that's cool and we celebrate that.
Mm-hmm.
But we really have taught somebody their value lies in the fact that their sexuality or something sexual.
Oh, dude, in this culture, I mean, everything that's going on.
But can I just be friends with you? Can I
Yeah.
just tell you, like, can I just come to you like a sister? Can I come to you like and just tell you how good you are at, how smart you are, something else. You know what I mean? Like, why does it have to go romantic? And it's because our wires get crossed so quickly into that shallow place. It's just such a worldly place. It's not, it's temporary, So anyway, I got tangled up in these relationships where I would feel like, oh, this person's gonna make me happy and this is my life. And then of course they can't because they're not God, and they would let you down, and then the whole world crashes around you and you're like, why am I living right now?
I've heard this story so many times. I mean, just from different people I've been watching online through social media. And you see him like get a girlfriend, and then she leaves him, and then he's suicidal, and then finds another girlfriend. He's on top of the world. I mean, I don't want to say any names, obviously, but I've seen this so many times that people do this stuff, and then they're suicidal.
Well, they asked me to read this part for that To Write Love on Her Arms movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen the movie yet. I know it came out, but I haven't seen it yet. They picked another actress for it. But the girl they asked me to play, in the end of the script, the reason why she doesn't commit suicide is because this guy comes in her life.
No way.
And it made me so angry. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to change this if I'm going to do this, because that's the exact opposite message. And that's the reason why they asked us to do a Twilight song for the movie Twilight back when I was in Flyleaf. And I was like reading these books, and my sister read them. She loves them. And I was like, this character is she's not a heroine at all. I want to exalt, because every time she is not with this guy, she wants to kill herself. And the only reason she doesn't kill herself is because she's going to make she thinks her parents are going to be sad. But the kids who are reading this, who knows what their relationship with their parents are? So they're going to take away, the height of love is to kill myself if I'm not with you, which is a lie. That is not love at all. And this is what I'm writing about in my book. Love is when you choose it's not that you have to love somebody and you need them. It's that you don't need them because you're whole in yourself, but you choose them. That's really love. It's not love to say, I can't live without you. That's emotional blackmail. And that's not loving. Loving is to say, you know what, things would be better with you. I'm whole and okay in myself as my own person, but I want to choose you.
Cool.
It's a choice. It's not
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Hey, if you're listening right now, this is Live with Ryan Ries. I have in studio Lacy Sturm, former frontman or front woman
Whatever.
of Flyleaf, and she's an author, and they're actually out here in LA right now working on a new album. So if you guys are waiting for that album, it should be coming out soon. She's just giving her life story. Let's just keep talking about now that you're in high school.
Yeah.
And you obviously had a bunch of relationships that shattered. And what was the point to where you actually you had an encounter with Jesus?
Well, my grandfather was going in the hospital because he had a heart attack. And, we're talking about romance relationships earlier, but it can be with anybody. It can be with your kids. It can be with your grandparents. It can be with whatever. For me, there was a few people in my life that I felt stable around, and he was one of those people. And I was like, without him, I don't know what I'm going to do.
How old were you at this time?
16. And so he went into the hospital, and I was suicidal anyway. I was depressed anyway, and I was looking for an excuse. When somebody's looking for an excuse, they're going to find one, and you can't. I want to say this because I don't want somebody who might be listening. I've heard this story so many times, who have been in a situation where somebody has threatened suicide because of, if you don't do this, I'm gonna kill myself. I actually heard it the other day. a guy in high school whose girlfriend broke up with him, and he said he was gonna kill himself, and she didn't believe him, and then she walked out into the parking lot. He called her. He said, "I'm in the parking lot. Come see me." And then he shot himself in the car. Oh my God. In the school. She just walked out of the thing, and his mom came and screamed at her and made her feel like, "How could you do this to my son?" And I was just so mad at that mom, because it was such a tragedy for her to lose her son. But why would she want to make someone else want to lose their life too? Because that's the first thing you think is, I deserve death too. I thought it when my cousin died, and I wasn't involved in it at all. But when somebody is suicidal, it is not about that excuse they're looking for is it doesn't matter how much you try and save them, because the only person that can save them is God. Mm-hmm. The only way, and in getting emotionally healthy, professional help is necessary sometimes. Yes. For me, I never went through that, but I know people who actually were helped by people who their job is to help people who have those issues. And it's not about how can this girl in high school save this boy, because
bigger issues than
So it's all kind of things. So for me, when I got in a fight with my grandma that day, my grandpa went in the hospital, and she was telling me, "Listen, you know what? Your actions affect people." That's what she was trying to tell me. She said, "You're not listening to our rules. You're not obeying us here. You're getting in trouble at school. You're breaking the law. You're bringing all the stress and anxiety in our home. And your grandfather had a heart attack, and it comes from stress. And I want you to know that he's in the hospital now, and you need to think about that." And what she wanted me to realize was, your actions affect more than just you. Stop being selfish. There's a bigger world out there than just your problems. And that's some really good advice for somebody who's suicidal, or somebody who's depressed. Somebody who's depressed, they need to know that there's a world bigger than them, and how can you serve and love the people around you? Take your eyes off yourself and start loving somebody else. Yes. But the way she said it was exactly what I was looking for, to find an excuse to take my life. And because what I interpreted her saying was, I felt like she was saying, our life would be better without you. Everything's worse with you here. If you were gone, things would be better.
That's the way you were interpreting it, yeah.
Which is not what she was saying at all. It's a lie. It's a deception from the enemy of our soul. And so what she was trying to say is, stop being selfish and pay attention, because life is bigger than you think. And what I interpreted was, life would be better without you. And the reason why I know it's a lie is because my grandpa wouldn't be stressed at all about me if he didn't love me.
Yeah.
So me taking my life would not make anything better for him. It would make things worse.
Absolutely.
Because he loves me, So
wait, now at this time you're in high school, but now were you involved with like drugs and stuff at this time, or was it just relationships?
Well, I had moved from Texas to Mississippi, so it was different. It was, I didn't know the same people. I wasn't able to do the same in the same crowd I was before. The same
just for
things.
people that are listening, like what were you involved with? I mean, were you involved with weed and alcohol?
Well, in Mississippi, we were drinking and we were doing pills and we were smoking weed and stuff like that. But just whatever we could get.
Same stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Same stuff. Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. So back in Texas, it was harsher stuff, but in Mississippi, it was still the same depth of just lost,
emptiness,
feeling empty. Yeah. So actually, I've never talked about this before, but during that time, I was dating a girl, and her situation was she found out that she some terrible things going on in her family that were just outrageous, abuse going on and things, and if you're getting abused in your home, like if you're getting sexually abused, it's just interesting to me how the Christian community talks to these people who've been hurt so badly sexually. Like, it's wrong for you to be. So, like, let's ask that question. Let's say, is it better for a girl to be in a consensual relationship with another girl when she doesn't know God or she doesn't have any reverence for what God would say about her sexual life, because she's just trying to hang on to life itself.
She's not sinning to her. She doesn't know sin.
Or would it be better or what about the fact that she's being sexually abused in her home against her will? You know, I mean, can you not talk about this and ask what's going on in her heart and in her life? And can you just see if she's going to make it through the day? You know, maybe that's not what she needs to be talked to about right then. You know, maybe she needs to be talked to about, you know, the fact that she's loved no matter what, because she's still breathing and there's hope for the future, because she needs to be able to know that she doesn't have to take her life. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
So, like, what was so beautiful is, like, when I ended up, so I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but my grandfather was in the hospital, had the argument with my grandma, and then my grandma, you know, she said she was going to be at the hospital with my grandpa the next day, and I planned to come home from school and to take my life at home at the house. But when I came home from school, she ended up being there, and she wasn't supposed to be there. And I I'm sorry, I skipped some parts, but I kind of had a nervous breakdown in school and cut my hair off, because this girl was like, "You got pretty hair," and I was like, "All you care about is hair. You're so shallow." And I cut my hair off in the bathroom.
So did you literally shave your head off?
No,
or?
I just took the scissors off my teacher's desk, and I just
And you chopped your ponytail.
Just pulled my hair out of there and chopped it off. And when I went, and then I was like, "What am I doing here? I can't do this anymore." And I went home, and my grandma was standing there when I walked in the door, and she said, "What did you do to your hair?" You know.
She's going like, "What the heck is going on?
What's wrong with you? Something is wrong with you. You are going to church." That's what she said. "You're going to go to church tonight.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday." And she was like, "There's church tonight. You're going."
You're going. So what we can. So when she said that, what was going on in your head? Because obviously you came home, you were trying to commit suicide.
I was like, "How can I get away from you? Because I got to go do what I'm planning to do. I can't wait. I got to get away from you. Hopefully you got to leave soon."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was thinking, hopefully she's leaving. She's just here for a minute. And so she didn't. She just sat there and screamed at me for an hour because I said I'm not going to church. And I told her for the first time what I thought about church and Christians. And I was like,
"So what'd you say?"
I was like, "I'm not going to church. All these people are naive and they're stupid, and they don't care about anybody but themselves, and all they do is they're fake and they're hypocrites, and they don't know anything about life, and they just." So I was like, "I'm not going." And she's like, "You're living in my house, and you're under my roof. You're gonna do what I say." You know.
That's for me in my house.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's like, "You get in that car right now, I'll drag you by your your
what's
cut
hair is
off, your
left?"
ugly hair." I'll drag you. So I was like, she's just really good at getting what she wants in that way whenever she knows it's important.
Well, obviously she knows. It's like, you know your kids, Scott. I mean, you know you guys have kids. You know your kids. I know my nieces. I can see when something's going on with them or not. She saw you cut your hair. She knew something was going down that was not right.
She's discerning. She's
Discerning,
very
exactly.
discerning. She's very prophetic. Like, she say things she don't even realize. You're like, "How do you know that about me? Stop looking into my soul." You know, she's like that.
You know, it's so cool that you bring that whole thing up about struggling with suicide and your own image and everything that you're going externally and spiritually, emotionally, because Ryan knows this. We deal with kids all the time, and a huge majority of kids deal with that, but they don't know how to talk to anybody about it. They go with their friends and their peers. They'll put it all over social media, but they don't have anyone to tell them the truth and love on them in a way that's going to bring them kind of out of their shell, so to speak. You know, let's talk about this before we sit there and go, "You're going to hell," and all the stuff that people do to people that are struggling with those kind of issues. And I think that's kind of cool that you are just so out there about that and you share that. And I think that if anybody's out there in the audience, they're going to just so relate with what you're saying right now. And hopefully it'll save them. It'll get them to see that there's a God out there that loves them, you know, the same way that you did. So that's cool.
There was we're gonna be going to break here in about 30 seconds, maybe less. But I just read on the news there was a kid that just committed suicide in Chino. Anyway, well, we're at break. We'll talk about that when we get back. We have Lacy Sturm in studio, and we'll see you back in 2 minutes.
More Live with Ryan Ries coming up.
Everything all right?
Call now. 1-888-564-6173. Or post your questions using the hashtag #LiveRyanReese on his Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.
I think I speak for the entire administration when I say whoop-de-doo.
Now, back to Live with Ryan Ries. Don't say we didn't warn you. Loud noises!
I love that.
I love Jim Carrey on that. It's amazing. We are back in studio.
Steve Carell.
Huh?
It was Steve
Carell.
Is that Steve Carell?
Yeah.
Josh finally said something on the
Was that-
microphone.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
It's
I thought it
Steve
was Jim
Carell.
Carrey.
That was Steve Carell.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we are in studio,
He's probably inspired by Jim Carrey.
and that person that was talking is the husband, Josh Sturm,
What's up?
and we have Lacy Sturm.
the wife.
We have the wife, Lacy Sturm, former lead singer of Flyleaf. If you just tuned in, she's telling her story about just coming out of a rough background, growing up with her mom, single parent with 6 kids, not being able to pay rent, paying the babysitter with food stamps, just a crazy life going from one house to another, one state to another, and just a life of chaos, which basically led her to a point where she hated God, was angry against God, saw her little cousin get beat to death, and just a lot of bitterness and anger, and then trying to find love and peace in relationships. Got involved with a lot of boys, then got in love with a girl, or got in a relationship with a girl, and now she's at her, basically she's at her grandparents' house. She just cut her hair, and she's on the path to commit suicide.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so my grandma's forcing me to go to church, and so just to get her to stop yelling, I said I would go, and I went, and I sat in the back of the room, and I hated everybody there. I hated people so much. When you don't believe in God, you cannot find purpose for people that you don't agree with or understand. You can't find purpose for them. There's such hatred that comes. I just feel like you don't have a grid for valuing a human life that you don't understand or agree with, you know? So I had a lot of hatred towards people, and so I'm sitting there. I already hate them, and this man's talking. I don't care what he's saying.
are you sitting by anyone? Or are you all by yourself? Like,
No.
paint the picture here. So you're
I'm
in the
sitting in the back, in the corner, on the end of the row,
Right.
where nobody's sitting.
Absolutely. Okay.
I'm slouched in my chair. I'm trying to get please don't anyone talk to me. Don't anyone talk to me. You know, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
And I would have left. Well, my grandma parked a van in front of the doors of the church, so I couldn't leave. So it's kind of a littler place, you know. Pass Road Baptist Church, if you're ever in the Pass Road in Gulfport, Mississippi, it still exists. They had 500 people living there after Katrina in the church, so it still exists. I don't know who's there still, but this man that I'm going to tell you, this pastor, he's passed away, but he's sat up there and he's talking, and he was like, started talking about whatever, and then he just stops talking, and he says, you know what, I feel like the Lord wants me to talk about family. And he starts to describe different relationships he's been in with families as a pastor over the years, and he just describes my life like I'm the only one there. Yep. And freaking me out, you know, this is speaking just to me, and I know that this is weird. And then he starts to cry, and he says, there's a suicidal spirit in the room. And I was like, no way, I'm not, you know, this is really, I got to get out of here. Yeah. And then he said, he's crying, wiping tears, and it's silent. And he says,
How many people are in this room at this point? You think 50?
Yeah, maybe 50 to 75 people, maybe. Okay. And it's just silent in there. And I was like, he said, please come up here and let us pray for you. God has a plan for your life, and he doesn't want you to die tonight. And it was quiet. I'm like, ain't no way I'm going up there. No way I'm going to go in front of all these Christians.
There's no way, yeah.
And he's making a spectacle. He wants to make a spectacle of me. Like, no way. Yeah. Like, I don't want to help this pastor prove he hears from God, or that these Christians know what's right for me. All those is really freaking me out, and I got to get out of here. Yeah. And my pride wouldn't let me go.
Absolutely.
And so I think that pride actually keeps a lot of people from so many gifts that God wants to give them. It's funny how we let that steal from us. You know, but I wouldn't go. And God's grace is so amazing that he gave me another chance. Because I went to the door after they dismissed the service, and a man was standing there, a white-headed man. Brother Dick Partridge is his name. I talk to him still, text message back and forth with him.
Awesome.
He's standing there, and he has eyes that have been weeping the whole service, and he's like, looks at me and says, he doesn't look at what I look like. And I know I look crazy, I know I don't look too crazy, but I know I look like, he said something he couldn't have known about my relationship with my girlfriend. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that obvious that, you know what I mean? But but it was like, I'm wearing this, he should have judged me. I expected him to, but he didn't look anywhere but my eyes, like with such a love and purity. And it was just like, God wants me to speak to you. And he wants you to know that even though you've never known an earthly father, that God will be a better father to you than any earthly father could ever be.
Dang, and what happened from there?
Well, my first reaction was exactly what I think when anybody says anything. I'm like, I don't need a dad. I don't need
that pride.
I don't need a man. I
Yeah.
don't need anybody in my life. And he said, God has seen you when you cry yourself to sleep at night. And that was the thing that shocked me, because
Dang.
I'd done that every night since my cousin's death. I didn't know how to sleep without crying.
Wow.
And he said, you've been rehearsing your pain. There's been pain in your life that comes from your own sin and the sins that people have committed against you and your family. And he's like saying this, I don't know him at all, saying this.
Right.
And he said, and did you know that Jesus died on a cross to take away the sins of the world? He said he died to carry the pain on himself on the cross, so you would never have to carry it in your heart anymore. So you don't have to rehearse that, because he died to take it on himself.
That's heavy right there.
He said, would you let me pray for you so that I can ask Jesus to take that pain out of your heart? And I was just floored. Like, I was like, how can you know this stuff? And every time he said pain, my heart would break, because it was absolutely true. I was tired. I was exhausted. Sins make you exhausted. Mm-hmm. We see what hurts our body. We see sometimes what hurts our feelings, but we don't see what hurts our soul. We don't see what's killing our soul. And that's what God tells us. He's not telling us this is a sin, and I'm going to kill you for it. Yeah. He's like, no, this is death to you. This is life to you. Please choose life so you can live. But if you choose death, I carried it on myself. I died in your place. All you have to do is put your faith in me, and I'll remove all of the residue of the death that you've chosen, and you can have life. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the first time I've ever heard this. Mm-hmm. I've never heard a Christian say that, make me feel like Jesus died to take my sin and pain on himself. I never heard that. I never understood that till that moment. And sometimes it takes all of those encounters to get us to a place where we're able to hear.
And I don't think sometimes there's things in our life where we won't hear it because we're too caught up in all this stuff. But I think some people, you have to get down to the end of yourself completely to be able to hear that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that there's different points in your life when it came through, but you just weren't really listening for it. Mm-hmm. But at this point, when you're just done and ready, and God just literally had this dude come up to you and just talk to you straight on and just prophesy.
We need to do that. We need to do that as a church too. We're scared. He was a white-headed man. He's old. He was older.
Yeah.
He's at a point where he didn't care what people think.
He's like a senior guy. Yeah, senior.
And that's the thing, is that if we could get to a place where the only person we care to impress is Jesus, then we would be able to go up to someone when the Lord's speaking to us and say, I feel like the Lord wants me to speak to you, and he wants you to know that even though you've never had an earthly father, and maybe we'll be wrong, and what's the worst that can happen? Oh, we're embarrassed. Yep. But the best thing that can happen is some girl stopped herself, didn't kill herself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a weird thing, because you don't want to speak from God what's not from him. Mm-hmm. But if he's put it on your heart and you know how to hear his voice, that saved my life. It has to be powerful for me.
That's true. Saved your life, yeah.
It can't be a religion that denies God's power. Mm-hmm. That's not going to work to save this generation.
Nope.
They're like, oh yeah, it's a religion like any other religion. So what? Nobody cares. It just makes you feel bad about yourself when you can't do it, and good about yourself when you can do it. And that's what religion is. Mm-hmm. There's no power in that. It's like, oh yeah, appeal to the fact that I want to be a better person, and then when I don't do as much as I want to do, then I'll feel like crap about myself.
Yeah, that's religion.
Yeah, or, some religions, they just kill you for it. Or they just chop off your hand or gouge out your eye or whatever. That's justice. They want righteousness, they want justice, and when they don't have it in themselves, this is part of it too. Part of it, the thing that makes us want to die is our judgment of everybody else. When we judge somebody worth getting beaten over whatever lie they told, then we find ourselves to be liars, then we judge ourselves even worse.
Yep,
we don't
Bible
want to
says
live
that.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened to me another time, but I talk right about that. But
So if you're listening, this is Live with Ryan Ries, and I have Lacy Sturm in the studio, and we're just going through her story. So now this guy came up to you and told you this. So what happened next?
he said, "Can I pray for you?" And I was like, "Okay, you can pray." I was kind of like, "You can pray. Just I'll see what happens." This has been really weird. Maybe all these miracles. It seems really strange. In a creepy way, yeah, pray, I guess. And so he puts his hand on.
So you didn't have any faith in Jesus at this point. I mean, you were just kind of like, just pray for me.
Well, I don't know, because he just told me the gospel for the first time I heard it.
And then you said, pray for me. So I guess by faith, you're like, yeah, pray.
Oh, yeah, pray, see what happens. Almost like, is this going to save me?
Yeah,
Is this going to
that's
change me?
interesting.
Is this going to change my decisions or my path? I don't know. So he puts his hand on my shoulder and begins to pray. And when he starts to pray for me, he asks, "God, I pray you would wrap your arms around this girl that you created." And that's a prayer for anyone. He created all of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not special in that way. He created all of us. And God will wrap his arms around the people he created if his people pray. I hated God. He wasn't going to, if I'd have cried out to him because of the blood of Christ, maybe he would have answered me. But because this man prayed for me, it was like he always answers this dude's prayers. This guy, he was like...
He was in tune. He was in tune with the
He was
Spirit,
like,
for
wrap
sure.
around your arms around this girl you created. Okay, my son. And he just wrapped his arms around me. It was like I had never experienced love before in my life until I had this encounter with God. I never experienced peace in my life until this moment when God wrapped his arms around me.
Dang.
There was no way to understand what goodness was because I describe it as I was encountering a holy God. And it's like showing up after having crawled through the sewer in filth and you stink and you're just filthy and messed up, and you show up in a ballroom in a king's house and it's like there's the king and he's standing there holy and clean and like shining and whatever, and he's like not even judging you. He's just like, you know what? I'm going to make you want to shy away when you haven't received him in your heart. You're like, let me get out of this. It's too good for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you experience that feeling of knowing you're not holy and he's holy. Is like he was pulling me in saying, I'm going to make you new if you let me. I'm not shocked by this. I know you. And I carried it on the cross. Like Jesus carried that on the cross. Yep. And the only thing we can do in that moment is reject him or accept him and just like say, I will make you new if you let me. Are you going to let me?
So what was the next step from there? He prayed for you.
Yeah. So I just had that encounter, and the next morning I remember waking up because I was a believer then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I believed.
You believed, yeah.
So the next morning I woke up and I was looking at the ceiling, like plain white ceiling, and just thinking, oh, you woke me up? Why? Why did you? There's a God. He made me and he rescued me from suicide. Why? What do you want to do with my life? And it was this weird feeling of like going from there's no God to there's a God. And then all of a sudden there's purpose in why I woke up.
Now there's purpose in your life. Yep.
I don't know what it is, but I know there's some reason because I almost died yesterday and I shouldn't be waking up. And when I walked to school, I remember looking at the trees and thinking, oh my gosh, there's purpose in this. I started to hear the birds singing and I was like, why did God make birds be able to sing?
Dude, that you know, that's crazy. Nick, when he found the Lord, you remember Nick that used to work with the Husvars? Nick, Mongol Nick. He said the day he gave his life to the Lord, and the next day he went to sleep that night, and the next day he woke up and he said he heard the birds chirping. He looked out and he saw the green. He's like, I don't remember hearing the birds chirping.
I don't either.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy? It's like
Yeah.
you become alive, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like yourself, like when you said, "This is the day that the Lord has made." Like
Yeah.
for the first time, those
Yeah.
words they rang true in your heart, and you're like, "Dude, I have a purpose in life."
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I found purpose that day.
And it's
Exactly.
not like a thing, like a goal. It's like, no, you know that there is a reason that you were created.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what it is exactly, but you know that there's a good, holy God who's keeping you alive right now.
So
Yeah.
cool.
And not only you alive, but these birds and these trees and every single thing that you're living in and all the people around you. You know, all of a sudden I went to school, I'm sitting in the lunchroom and I'm looking at these people and realize every single person there is made by God and loved by him the same way. And I just
tripping out on
choked up at the idea how much I hated them before.
Yeah.
I hated them before and I was really hating God's masterpieces, who he loved. And so I was like just overwhelmed, like how much God loved people.
So sick.
And that's what Satan's about. You know,
Yeah.
he
That
hates God's
deception.
creation, and he's all about anger and rage and lies and poison.
Mm-hmm.
And,
But you know that testimony. I mean, whether it be you or Ryan or myself or even Josh, the realization from going to death to light, from darkness to light, is so real to us because we've experienced it. But there are people that are listening to this show right now. They're like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And they can't because they don't know what it is to flip that spiritual switch until one day you're dead. And now like you see everything from a fresh perspective. And that is so important, you know?
what if there's people listening obviously right
Yeah.
now? What do you want to say? Maybe those people that are listening, they're in this situation, or there's some different elements that are going on in their life that are very similar, and they don't have Christ. Let's just say the bottom line, they don't have Christ. What word of advice? What would you tell them to do?
I would say it is the most amazing adventure I've ever been on to actually open up to the idea that there could be a God who loves me and to cry out to the name of Jesus, because the power of the name of Jesus is something you can't find in any other name. There's only the power, the life-giving power. Like I remember just demonic attacks, like being heavily demonically attacked in my dreams, having night terrors or whatever. My mom
Yeah.
told me since I was little, if a devil ever comes to you, because I guess this happened to her, and a devil's trying to hurt you in your sleep, you cry out the name of Jesus and it will leave you alone. And you know what?
A lot of people have
Yeah.
night terrors.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people I've come across that have these night terrors, and once you start talking about it from the stage, then people start coming out of the woodworks and going, dude, I've been dealing with this. I feel like people have been chasing me my whole life, and all these night terrors of demons showing up in their
Sitting
sleep.
on their chests and stuff. Yeah.
The reason why you can't just cry out Jesus as a magic wand, because
Yeah.
that happened in the Bible. Remember when those people were like, in the name of whom Paul
Yeah,
preaches?
they're like, who are you?
Yeah, we don't know
They
you.
got their rear ends kicked. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was. Well, you have to know the reason why Jesus is God. I mean, he is the Word made flesh. He's God incarnate. He is the reason why Jesus is the one who overcame the enemy is because the enemy is an accuser of all of our sins. He's almost like that lawyer who stands before God and says, "Look at this guy. He's a murderer. He's a whore. He's a whatever." And he says all these things, and he says, "He's mine. I'm gonna be the one that's gonna get him. You know, I'm gonna torture him. He deserves to be tortured." That's what he said. Well, what Jesus did is he said, well, yeah, he might deserve that, but I'm gonna die in his place. I'm gonna go down and take the keys of death from you, so you don't have that say anymore. If he pleads the name of Jesus, he's forgiven. You know, you have to look at me now. And what sin did I commit? None.
None.
Dude,
I love the way you put that. That's amazing.
So that's why you call the name of Jesus. You know who he is, and you're like, Jesus, you know, cover me in your blood, cover me with your forgiveness, and the devil has to stop.
I thought about that verse in Romans, whosoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. And that's, you know, we have a movement called the Whosoever's, and the Whosoever's is the anybody's. Whosoever, the attorney, to the broke kid, to the 5-year-old, to the, you know, movie star, like whoever, anybody, anybody's. Whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. And that's simply by just believing in Jesus Christ, saying, Jesus, I believe that you died on the cross and you raised on the third day, and I believe that you have a purpose for my life. Just ask him into your heart. If you're listening now, just say that prayer, and then find a church. Go to calvarychapel.com and find a church, or any church that teaches the Bible.
Yeah.
Word for word, and God will start working in your life. Okay, so you found Jesus, and I think we have like another we have 9 minutes left.
Sorry.
No. This stuff was amazing. This was an amazing show.
Okay.
So you started. How'd you get plugged in with Flyleaf? I want to hear about Flyleaf,
Okay.
and I want to hear about you finding your man.
Okay. While I was in,
In 9 minutes.
I just wanted to. Okay, Jesus help me. I just wanted to find a way to. I remember somebody gave a sermon one time. Eric Patrick, who I still am in contact with. He's a businessman, but he was a pastor.
I know Eric. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said to me one time, if you're faithful in the little things, then God will give you the bigger things.
Right.
And he'll give you charge over those things. And so I'm like, okay, well, what can I be faithful with? What gifts have you given me? Don't bury your talents. What can I use? So I had a guitar. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll write a song and sing it for some kids at school, right? So I started doing that. And first time I did it, this girl sitting in front of me starts weeping. And I'm like, Jesus is talking to you. I prayed he would. So can I pray for you?
Epic.
How long ago was that after you gotten saved? Like the next day or something?
No. It was just within, within like a month.
That's crazy.
Or so.
And really quick, I was just told we have 5 minutes. So
Okay. So then that's how I started playing music. And then I would go and play in coffee shops. And then I met the guys in Flyleaf. They were in other bands that had broken up. And I was like, you want to be in a band? And so we started a band because I always heard metal music and I only had acoustic guitar. So it was hard to figure it out without a band. So
got it.
we ended up doing some Battle of the Bands and doing South by Southwest in Austin.
So
And
Battle of the Bands to South by Southwest, and then where did people?
this guy named Gabriel Colbert, I got to give him a shout out because nobody ever tells us about him. But he's the one who got us in front of the people at South by Southwest. That brought
Really?
us.
And then from there, is that when it kind of just took off?
Yeah, so then we got on tour with Trust Company, Saliva, Stained, in that order pretty much, and went on tour with Korn, and we just kept playing. And it was funny to watch at the festivals. We'd be on a little side stage and we start playing, and people would just start coming from whatever they
No
were. Just,
way.
the crowds would start
That's
filling
epic.
up. And it was cool because we would pray, God, just let them know that you're here, and let them feel life, and that was our heart. And so
I've been on tour with you guys, and I've been backstage, and I've seen all the stuff, and you guys, you're the real deal when it comes to like praying and asking for God to show up. I mean, I've been on tour with a lot of bands, and even like Christian bands are on Christian labels, and you guys are we're on a mainstream record label, but you guys represented Christ behind the stage before you went on, after the whole deal, and it really encouraged me, because during that time when you guys were on tour, I met you guys, and that's when we all became friends.
Yes.
And you guys spoke life into my life, and your husband over here. I mean, this is gonna have to be a whole nother episode. I mean, but basically, I remember Josh just saying, hey man, Ryan, I'm gonna pray for you. You gotta get baptized. I wasn't baptized. I found God, but I haven't been baptized yet. He's like, man, you gotta go home. My life started changing after I got baptized. I went home on a plane after leaving you guys in Texas. It was winter, and I landed in LAX, called my dad, hey dad, I'm coming to your house to get baptized. He's all, Ryan, the pool, it's like 30 degrees. I'm like, I don't care. My boy Josh just told me I got to get baptized. I'm on my way, and I drove from LAX all the way to my dad's house, and they baptized me in that freezing cold water.
Awesome.
that's
And,
amazing.
and that's a whole nother story. But
That's
thank
awesome.
you guys. You guys are amazing. So now you have a book out. It's on my blog. It's called The Reason. I have your video that you did with Billy Graham, the Reason song
Yeah.
as well. There's some links to where you can buy it on ryan-reese.com. And I don't know, what else do people need to know?
Yeah, well, we're working on new music.
Yes.
LacySturm.com has our dates, and we're doing a lot of dates that have to do with the book too. We're just speaking, doing acoustic shows. We're doing one tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, check this out. If people want to book you, they go to LacySturm.com. Spell that. It's
Lacy, LaCeYSturm, as in Mary.
Yes.
Sturm.
and Sturm and Josh actually plays the guitar, and you guys are
My husband,
you
yeah.
guys actually played a show a couple weeks ago for us. So yeah, and it's
Okay.
amazing. Every time you guys play, the Holy Spirit shows up, and people get saved, and it's always just an honor and privilege to be with you guys.
Yeah,
Josh,
thank
you want to run through some of the announcements before we close?
Yeah, the announcements again, you guys. For any of you guys that want to know, you can watch always the program live at ryan-reese.com.
Dosh?
Ryan-Josh, yeah. Ryan-Reese.com. Again, on the 25 radio stations. We want you guys to join if you're out there and you want to get us on your station. Feel free to contact us. We'd love to hook up. Don't forget about Israel. Israel's coming down, you guys. I'm going to beg your dad. I want to go on that trip so bad. I'll carry your suitcases.
Yes.
April 5th through the 17th, you guys sign up. It's going to be insane.
And you know what? We all went last year, everyone in this room, and it's amazing. And if you're reading the Bible, you want that thing to come alive when you're out there. I mean, tell me something about Israel when you're out there.
Well, it does come alive. It's magical in that way. I mean, not magic, but it's real life. That's what makes it different, is that it's true. I mean, you get to see the lake, and you get to see where he walked on water, and you get to see where, he prayed those prayers at Gethsemane, and it's powerful. You get to pray right there, the same spot.
I mean, I remember when we were on the hill, on Mount of Olives, overlooking the Temple Mount, and there's a picture I just posted, and you guys are playing worship songs, and we're singing off the Mount of Olives over Israel, and everyone's bawling, crying. It was crazy. Awesome. You guys got to come. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
This has been Live with Ryan Ries. To connect or find out more about Ryan, click on ryan-reese.com. Check us out next Saturday at 9 p.m. for Live with Ryan Ries.